Now that I've finished watching TDDC and all of your extras and your RPG Q&A videos, what should I watch now?
West Wing?
No, I finished rewatching it again last week. I feel in the mood for shonen anime.
Ah, how about Death Note?
Death Note? Anime Indecision. When I said shonen, I kind of meant action, like maybe a hero with a cool weapon. The Gunblade, the Buster Sword, the Punisher. Death Note is a story of a boy and his diary. It's so emo.
I know you hear a show about a book and you think it'll be boring, but you would be wrong. It's actually a show about two people thinking about a book.
Seriously, what other movies do you have?
It has supernatural powers. And a goth girl.
Go on.
Death Note is one of the best-selling manga of all time. The original series led to the anime, a novelization, several live-action movies. It's even been optioned by North American movie studios. It's rumored that the anime series was lengthened from the original planned endpoint due to its overwhelming popularity, which is plausible.
Popularity? That's a lame argument. Inuyasha was popular.
50% of that show's dialogue was just Inuyasha and Kagome shouting each other's names.
Inuyasha!
Kagome!
Inuyasha!
Kagome!
Inuyasha!
Okay, but Inuyasha was typical demon fighting, look at my big sword shonen. Shove that on Cartoon Network and of course it makes money. This show fought its way past a dozen Inuyashas. In a sea of ninja tournaments and drawn-out duels, Death Note stood out with tension, intensity, even without all that flash. It's more like watching Sherlock. Smart, thrilling action.
So, more drama, less dueling?
Oh no, it's a duel. The titular Death Note is a book with the power to kill anyone simply by writing their name on its pages. A bored Grim Reaper accidentally dropped this book on Earth, where it is found by, of all people, Light Yagami, a brilliant student who, when he learns of the book's power, decides to use it to make the world a better place, by causing the mysterious but consistent deaths of known criminals on a global scale until the people of the world are too afraid to commit crimes in the first place. And the deaths do garner attention, from world-famous detective L, who is every bit as brilliant as Light, beginning a life-and-death battle of wits.
It really is like Sherlock and Moriarty.
Yes, only it's from Moriarty's point of view, and he believes he's doing it for the good of mankind. Right from the second episode, we're witnessing a duel of super geniuses.
Super geniuses thinking about a book. I calculate an 87% chance of boredom, and random odds.
It does use some of those cliché genius tropes, like L's highly improbable assessments of probabilities, but that's only a side effect. It's not how you know these guys are smart. Throughout the show, you get to see both sides and follow all their moves. They don't prove their intellect through Hollywood hacking or by predicting things that no one could ever have predicted. In Death Note, you get to see their logic and their assumptions as they try to get into each other's heads and to discover each other's identities.
Well, score 1 for Death Note then. I hate when a show tells me that someone is smart and doesn't show me. Why should I believe them?
Exactly. And in case that wasn't off the beaten path enough for shonen, there's no clear hero, not even a standard anti-hero. Most of the characters strongly believe their actions are right, and the show forces the viewer to think about the ethics of the situation. Can extreme actions be justified for the greater good? Who you think is right and who you are cheering for may change over the course of the show based on their thought-provoking morals and the great charisma of the characters.
Death Note thought-provoking? Isn't this the show where they tried to make a bag of chips epic?
That was one glorious bag of chips. Please tell me the live-action version does a 720-degree bullet time shot of the bag scene.
Well, I think there were a lot of things that they meant to be epic, but they just came off silly. When Death Note doesn't work, it really doesn't work.
But when it does work, it's so good.
Yeah, and when it works, it's clever, intense, and exciting. But when it doesn't work, it's talk. Talk, blah, blah, blah.
I can point to a lot of anime where ninjas fight for 12 seconds, but spend 3 minutes explaining what they plan to do, or what just happened. I'd rather listen to these geniuses and other compelling characters debate right and wrong, and try to outthink the other side.
L is well known for his eccentric awesomeness, and Light has this really compelling quality, but who else is memorable?
A surprising number of them, actually. Most obvious is the Shinigami, the Grim Reaper who dropped the notebook. Invisible to all but the book's owner, he has to stick around and keep track of the Death Note until he can get it back, presumably when the owner dies. Though he's just in it for the lulz, he can influence the events by revealing, or not revealing, certain information to Light. There are also the police chief and other members of the task force hunting for the killer, many of whom have views and motivations of their own which help to draw you in so that you care what happens to them.
Don't forget, Amane.
Yes, Amane. A fangirl who became so fascinated with the killer that she does what even L is struggling to do. She figures out who the killer is in order to get with him. How did she do it? And how can she help Light to achieve his perfect world?
Try to help. She's not exactly a super genius. And it's hard to accept the existence of a character who's such a hardcore fangirl that she doesn't care about her own life. Besides, adding a goth girl to a show just for some fan service is pretty low.
Well, there are people in real life who yearn to surrender their identity to another person, even to someone they've never met, like a celebrity or a serial killer.
That doesn't make her any easier to handle.
Maybe you should think of Amane as a natural disaster in a strategy game. It doesn't matter how brilliant your plans are, there will always be things that go awry. You can't account for every factor. Part of the drama is the way these geniuses are forced to adapt to these events, think on their feet, and change their plans on the fly.
I guess it would be a short show if everything went according to plan.
Bottom line, this is a show that rewards your involvement. It's going to be more enjoyable if you pay attention to the Death Note's rules, make your own plots, and try to figure a way out of things on your own. You can compete with the super geniuses, and then feel the shock or the triumph when you see how they solve the problems and create new ones for their opponent.
I do love a good god of death or two. And it does have a cool dark style that you don't see in a lot of shonen. Maybe it's worth me taking a second look. Plus, the first opening and end theme are by Nightmare. I love when anime use actual VSK bands for their songs.
Alright.
Anime